Commissioner Combs Hollis,
I'm here.
Commissioner Gross,
Here.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Here.
Commissioner Zhang,
Here.
Chair Smith.
Here. Okay, could we have a motion to approve the minutes from our October meeting?
I'll make that motion. This is Gross Claus. I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Gross, seconded by Commissioner Miles to adopt the minutes of October 2nd. Commissioner Forsyth,
Yes.
Commissioner Combs Hollis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gross,
Yes.
Commissioner Zhang,
Yes.
Chair Anthony.
Yes,
Motion carry, 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any reports on any enforcement actions in historical district?
No, Chair.
Any communications?
No, Chair.
Okay, so we can start the meeting. The first business in order, because I have to recluse myself, we're going to wait for another commissioner to come in, but we should move right to 803 Clifton Avenue, Forest Hill, application H24-019.
Anthony, were you able to communicate this with oh boy, with Marcy, the Pina, because she's there.
But we don't
So
have enough
maybe-
commissioners here for me to recluse myself to vote on it. So
Yeah, but no. Okay, so we have to communicate that with her because her hold on 1 second. Oh, well, okay, so I guess I'm not sure she probably heard your announcement, but I think we should have brought her in and let her know.
well,
We were
well,
going to
well,
do
Madam
that.
Secretary, if you think we should bring her in, then bring her in. We'll let her know, and then we'll
Yeah, let her know, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mm. Okay, she should be coming in.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, commissioners.
Good
Good evening.
evening, Mr. Pina. How are you?
Good, and you?
Yeah. So, Mr. Pina, we're going to have to push yours back until another commissioner joins because I have to recluse myself because of my association with the foundation and also the park. So we'll be right back to you as soon as someone comes in, and you'll be the first person called in.
Okay, and we also have joining with us our designer, Jan, who's also on.
All right. So just be a little patient, then we'll come right back to you.
No problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to move on to the next business of order. Address 803 Clifton Avenue, Forest Hill, application H24-019. Applicant is proposing to construct a new three-story, two-family residential dwelling.
Okay, I'm bringing her in. That's Marsha Moore. I'm bringing her in. Roma, I'm bringing. Okay, let me take Marcy out.
Good evening, Commissioners. Marsha Moore from the law firm of Post Pollock on behalf of the applicant 803 Clifton Avenue LLC. With me tonight is our architect, Daniel Angel Roma. By way of recollection, we were before this commission in March of this year. And at the time we presented our application, there were some comments from the commissioners respect to one side of the property not having visible windows. So the architect has revised those plans. We've submitted. We went back before design review, so we wanted to explain those comments to the commissioner. I see Commissioner Zhang shaking his head. I know those were some of his comments and concerns regarding having that blank wall that was visible to the public. So we'll just have Mr. Roma run through the proposed changes that we're seeking. So Daniel, if you want to share your screen. Again, we presented this application. It is a proposed 2 stories in the Forest Hill. If you can discuss the modifications and how we address those comments from the commissioner.
Okay. What we did is we flip. Let me go to the, I can show here. 1 second. Okay. This is a survey and the site plan of the application. We are proposing to do a new 2-family. On the original presentation, the 3 feet point 2 was on the left side. And on that side were all the windows. What we did now is we flipped. We left 1.8 feet on the left side. We are separated by 3 feet from the existing house that is on the left. And then all our windows will be on the right side. Let me show you. This is the house that we're proposing. Is a 3-story, 2-family dwelling, and before we have the windows on the left side, and the only thing that they can see at that time was the building that is located to the left. Now, with all the windows on the right side, we have. Let me go to share something else. Let me see if I can do that. 1 second. Eh, 1 second. Okay. Now is screen 1. Share. Can you see the site?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Where is the grass is where we are proposing to build our new 2-family. As you see to the left, there is an existing 3-story building, and before we have the windows facing that side. Now, as we have the windows on the right side, we have an open space, the backyard of the houses that were facing the other street. Let me go back. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you see now again the house,
I think
the
you need to,
facade?
I think you need to navigate back to Adobe. We still
Let
see,
me share.
yes.
What are you looking at now?
Your elevations.
The elevations? Okay, perfect. And I have some rendering to show how this will looks like. This is the front facade and the right side where we have the dormers from the apartment on the third floor, and the windows on the second floor and some windows on the first floor. This is the front facade. We're using fiber cement siding all around on the four sides of the building, and a combination with the fiber cement shingles on the top here, and some areas on the second floor. And that was the change. This project was approved a couple of years ago, and the person started working on the house, did a full foundation, and then they sold the property. And our new client is ready to. We have to go in front of the board for the approvals now.
And Danny, similar was a two-family dwelling, so we're really just asking for the previous approvals for the two-family, is that correct?
Yes, that we're going to have to go to the Board of Adjustment for the approvals.
I'll just add that based on my recollection of memory of the previous meeting, I think that this updated proposal, I think, addresses pretty much all of those concerns. I think it looks pretty handsome.
Thank you.
Opening for any questions, but that's our presentation. Again, we went through the previous application, and this was to address, as Commissioner Zhang indicated, the comments to provide those windows.
Well, if that's the end of your presentation, first of all, thank you for taking, our suggestions and coming back. It is a beautiful building. I will ask, are there any questions or concerns from any of the commissioners? Any additional questions or concerns?
I'll just add is that I think they also added another rear window on the rear facade, which wasn't exactly required by the commission, but it was another welcome suggestion. So it's a nice rendering.
Great. You can take your screen down, your presentation down. I'm sorry. Commissioners, are there anyone have any questions or comments on this applicant's presentation?
I have no questions.
No? Okay, are there any comments or questions from the public, Madam Secretary?
No, there are no raised hand.
Okay, well, can I get a commissioner to move move
Make a
this project?
motion.
Make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
That's Gross Clause.
That's not gross, because that's saying.
Zhang.
Oh,
And
Zhang,
I'll-
okay.
And I'll second that.
Miles, okay, Zhang, sorry. And Miss Combs Hollis. Motion made by Commissioner Zhang, seconded by Commissioner Combs Hollis. Commissioner Forsyth,
Yep.
Commissioner Gross Claus. Commissioner Gross Claus, you're on mute.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Miss Epps, I don't know how long you've been in the meeting. Did you just? Okay,
I just have to abstain because I just
Okay,
at the
okay.
very end. I'm
okay,
sorry, I
just
couldn't.
join.
log
It's
in.
okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Combs Hollis,
Yes.
Commissioner Zhang,
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes.
Motion carry, 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I have a few, so I'll just mute myself.
Okay, Anthony, so we can go back now to Mr. Pina for the first one. So let me just take out Marcia. Let me take out Miss Moore. Mr. Zhang, you can help me too, because I make you co-host. Because sometimes it's a little
Yes.
tedious sometimes to just get everybody out. Okay, so let me see if Miss DePina is there.
Commissioner Epps,
Yes,
I have to recluse myself from this one because I'm the board chair for the Parks Foundation, and this is about Harriet Tubman.
oh, well, I don't know. Should I recuse myself too? I worked on the project. I was the historian for the project, so I don't know. One of the historians.
I know Mr. Woodridge, he was trying to get in. He had me on the phone just, but I had to cut him off because I had to do the roll call. Maybe I'm gonna have to try to get him to log in. Oh, boy.
Commissioner Epps, maybe just for clarification, you were paid, directly paid by the Parks Commission? Yes, I believe you need to be recused from,
Okay.
yeah.
Marcy, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to push you back a bit. I'm trying to get Mr. Woodridge in, but he's getting a problem to get in. Once we get him in, then we can just move with you. So just be
Mr.
patient
Pina,
with us.
you see, it's a small city, right?
Yeah, no
Just
problem.
be patient, Marcy.
No, that's fine. I wasn't aware that we paid any historians for the project, or I just wanted to just make that note. When it came to, but perhaps it was part of an organization that I just wasn't aware of, but I did just want to make that note. Thank you.
I'll just say that I'm reading from Robert Rules of Order that if there's a conflict of interest, the person is not required to recuse themselves, but it's it's better form. So even if it's
Okay. Thank you, Miles.
So once Mr. Woodridge gets in, I'm gonna call you back, Marcy, okay? Sorry.
Okay, great. Well, let's go to the next application. The address is Marcy out?
I'm gonna take her out. Okay.
Okay, next application is 64-66 Lyons Avenue, Weekway Park, application H24-143. Applicant is proposing to construct a 3-story family residential building with the ground level one parking spot for this vehicle.
If you're there, please raise your hand so I can bring you in.
While we're doing that, Commissioner Epps, maybe you could rename yourself on your profile because you came in under Miss Taylor.
Oh. Okay.
Anthony, can you make a second announcement, please, for Lyons Avenue?
I don't even know how I do that.
Sure. So 64-66 Lyons Avenue, Weekway Park, application H24-143. The owner is 58 Mon Cap LLC. Applicant is proposing to construct a 3-story, 3-family residential building with ground level, 1 vehicle parking garage.
Okay.
Is there anyone here representing this case?
I don't see any raised hands, so we can just move on and probably come back to them.
Very good. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next application. So this next application is a demolition and also a new construction. So this is application, this demolition is first, it's application 983-987 South Orange Avenue, H24-196. The owner is the New Gospel Tabernacle. Applicant's proposing partial demolition of the existing structure to restore a portion of the Stanley Theater, also known as Father Vincent Manella Center of Italian Culture. Is there anyone here representing this case?
Yes, Marsha's in. Okay, I think so. I'm gonna bring in Okay, it's Marshall, Mr. Reynolds, and Blackbird.
And good evening again, Commissioners. Marcia Moore on behalf of the applicant from Post Pollock. So as indicated, the first application's respect to a demolition, and that property is not within the historic, but it is a landmark that was designated in 1986, as our architect has mentioned. The property again is 983, 987, and the block is 402, lot 36. So what we're proposing, as indicated, is a partial demolition with the restoration of a portion of the former Stanley Theater. It is currently vacant and not being operated, and it was also known as the Father Vincent Manella Center of Italian Culture, which was previously used as a social club. As I mentioned, the most recent use has been for house of worship services and also a house for worship, also as far as for homelessness. So the partial demolition is to preserve, to remove the main theater in the rear of the property, which fronts on Halsted Street, as our architect will mention, and that we are seeking to preserve or restore the front facade, the marquee, the lobby entry and concession areas of the historic building. As part of this demolition, we have provided a report in support of the demolition. We do have Mark Best who will present in the demolition, and then for the other application respect to the new construction, we'll have Tom Reynolds discuss the design. But this property, it's on South Orange Avenue with a corner street of Halsted. So I'd like to have Mark Best introduce the project, respect the demolition, provide the reports, and we will be addressing the standards for demolition. We did have an opportunity for some of the commissioners to visit the site last week. We will be addressing that. So Mark, if you'd like to share your screen and walk through the proposed partial demolition of this application.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, commissioners, and thank you for taking the time to hear our case. Let me just silence that. I'm going to share my screen. Excuse me. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this building, and my associate's going to discuss kind of the restoration and new construction portion. But this is the structure, the facade as it stands right now, as you can see on the screen. It was designed in kind of a Spanish colonial revival style, and served as a movie theater. The movie theater was quite unique in its day in that it was what they would call an experiential theater, and it would the theater had devices inside to create an atmospheric effect. It would generate stars on the ceiling. It had a device inside that would create kind of like an atmospheric steam, and it was before 3D, and it was popular. There are several of them around the country, and this theater itself was put in use once the talkies started to come into fashion. But over time, that type of use kind of fell out of favor, and it eventually became used as a social hall, as was just discussed by the attorney. And in 1989, it was put up for it was used as a social hall through 89, and 1990 became home for the Newark Gospel Tabernacle. At which point it was put onto the Register of Historic Places, essentially in order to gain resources to help with the repair and ongoing maintenance of this large facility. Unfortunately, the Newark Gospel Tabernacle collapsed, stopped having services, and the building into the 2000s fell into disrepair, and now it is up for sale, and our client is considering purchasing the property. So here we have the facade, the historic facade, which Thomas Reynolds will discuss. Our intention is to preserve this facade. Here's an older picture from 2006 of the Newark Gospel Tabernacle facade. You can see the Spanish colonial revival treatment. Again, this is going to be part of the restoration and renovation. We're going to keep the marquee. More about that later. Here's an older photo when it was used as the Italian Cultural Center. It was called Casa Italiana at that time. And this is going back. So I'm going to focus my discussion primarily on the demolition portion. So I don't want to take valuable time about going over other things. So I'm going to cruise through some of these images. So here's Halsted Street on the side elevation. This is South Orange Avenue. Let me zoom in a little bit for clarity. Okay, so where my cursor, I don't know if you can see the little hand, that's South Orange, here's Halsted. The area in red, highlighted in red, is the area that we would propose to remove. And this area, basically on the inside, is the theater itself. The entry, the marquee, and the main entry we're keeping, and this is the area of proposed demolition. I'm sorry, is there any questions? I'm sorry, I thought I heard something. Apologize. This is the interior of that space, some interior images. As you can see, the ceiling is essentially collapsing around the perimeter. Our overhead shot clearly shows that this is daylighted here. A tremendous amount of water infiltration. There's actual plant life growing off the top of the building, which is, from an architectural point of view, quite frankly, is not a good thing. You don't, unless it's intentional, you don't want to have trees growing on your buildings like this. And it's has not been maintained and is continuing to deteriorate as we speak. You can see inside the pastiche, the kind of add-ons for these are kind of false balconies to give it that image of Spain on the inside. But certainly you could see the tremendous amount of water damage and interior plastered deterioration that has occurred. This is another image. Again, the structure is coming down from the ceiling. Some of the seats are still in place. And this is what some of the interior spaces look like. Again, daylighting, water just coming through. This is kind of a wide angle view. Looking from the stage back, you can see this massive ceiling where they had projected the stars at night and all of this type of atmospheric effect. But again, the concept was that you're entering into Spain as you're here, this kind of Spanish villa. So we took our drone and flew it over the top of the building. And this area in the back is where you enter into the theater space, and you can see along the sides, you see the trees growing on the top, and this all open along the perimeter for water to come in. So this back here, where these large air conditioning units, is the area that we're going to remove from here back, and that's what was highlighted in red. One of the other aspects for doing this, and what I think at this point it's probably useful to maybe get into the standards for demolition, responding to the City of Newark Code section 41-10-19-2, and this group of standards offer 7 considerations for to consider, when it comes to demolishing a designated historic structure. The 7 are historic and architectural and aesthetic significance, its use, the use of the building itself, the importance to the city, and the extent to which its historic or architectural value is such that its removal will be detrimental to the public interest. The extent to which it is of such old or unusual, uncommon design, craftsmanship, texture, or material that cannot be reproduced or could be reduced only with great difficulty. The probable impact of its removal upon the ambiance of the historic district, structural soundness, integrity of the building to comply with the requirements of the building code. And then finally, the effect on the remaining portion of the building, structure, site, object, or landscape feature in cases of partial demolition. So I can briefly address those 7 items, starting with its historical, architectural, and aesthetic significance. From our vantage point, it's the building facade itself that provides the most historical, architectural, and aesthetic significance, at least from the street perspective. The Mission Revival, Spanish Colonial Revival style is what really draws you to this property. As you're traveling down South Orange Avenue, it really does stand out. And we feel very strongly that this feature is worth saving, and want to exact extreme care to ensure that its facade is restored properly. And so that's very significant and very important to us. The main theater, which starts about 100 feet from South Orange Avenue corner, when you look at those images, and again, I can go back to share the screen one more time. It is our belief that the large masonry wall, I'm going to go back and share very quickly so we can just get another look at it. It's in red. This large masonry wall, which is 3 stories high, is in a residential neighborhood. And we feel that it's disproportionate, and really does stand out as almost like the appearance of a warehouse. There's no windows except for 2 overhead coiling doors. There's no lighting there. There's no greenery. There's no landscaping. There's no trees. There's nothing soft about it. Yet it faces a series of residential properties. So in terms of its aesthetic and historical architectural significance, we personally don't believe that this offers very much in that regard. Number 2, when we talk about use, since it stopped serving as a theater, the building was made private and it's not open to the public. Even the documented historic preservation paperwork states that a quote had limited and restricted access. And as a social club, it was really dedicated to those of Italian heritage, followed by the church. The use of the building right now is essentially, there is none. It's vacant. It hasn't been used. And quite frankly, other than using it as a theater, it's difficult to imagine any further productive use for a space of this size. It has a sloping floor, which is concrete. There's no basement below it. It really, its usefulness, it has outlived its usefulness as a theater, and we can try to speculate what other kind of uses can be used, but for a space of this magnitude, but I come up blank. Additionally, quite frankly, SOPAC, the South Orange Performing Arts Center, is less than 2 miles on South Orange Avenue, heading west. And so another theater of this size and magnitude, if anyone was to invest the resources to make it a theater, seems relatively unrealistic. Not even to mention if one was to try to find parking for it, just doesn't seem to really be of use. So the usefulness, in our opinion, is really not something that we can really put a lot of consideration into.
Mark, before you
Um,
move on to that, I just wanted to emphasize the use because I think that is like really important. Even not so a theater, a so-called movie theater wouldn't work there, correct? You mentioned the lack of parking and the access. So in order to refurbish it to use it for another theater would not be feasible.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, a space this large can easily accommodate a couple of thousand people. In fact, at one point there were 2,000 seats in here. So that's a significant impact on the community in terms of just moving that volume of people into this area. So yes, Marcia, I concur with that.
Okay.
The importance of the city and the extent to which its historic or architectural value is such that its removal would be detrimental to the public interest. We did a quick survey of theaters in Newark that were constructed from the 1880s through the 1930s. Most of these theaters have lost one of the most important features, which is the marquee and the grand entry. If you were to take a quick drive around Newark, and I know you folks have seen them, they strip off the marquee. It's left with a steel structure that's projecting over the sidewalk. And quite frankly, as far as these theaters go, that's the image. That's the money shot right there. You know, it's beautiful in the front. You have the beautiful marquee, you have the grand entry. Um, and so we believe that has the most significant importance to the city in terms of its historic value. And we believe that it is important to save that. And again, the 200-foot long, 3-story high blank brick wall on Halsted Street offers zero importance to the city, historic or architectural value. The craftsmanship and materiality of the project is an interesting topic point. The craftsmanship and materials are available within Newark to revitalize this theater. So I don't believe that it's something that cannot be restored. It's mostly plaster work. And I think that when Thomas talks about what we're going to do to restore this project, this craftsmanship is there. It's available. And there's some kind of interesting architectural elements on the interior that we intend on saving and replicating as part of the project. So I don't want to steal Tom's thunder, but this stuff can be done with current technology, and it's not something that will require enormous or great difficulty to make happen. You know, this theater is not located in a historic district. So there's really no impact in terms of the ambiance of a historic district. So item number 5 is really not applicable, I don't believe, to this conversation. The structural soundness and integrity of the building relative to the Uniform Construction Code. Well, the roof is collapsing, number one. And the extent of the water damage in the theater is significant. And it's ongoing. So it's not getting better. The interior floors are concrete, they're sloped. There's mold, there's dampness. It's really not safe for human habitation right now at all.
Mr. Best, can
Yes.
you please bring back up the photo so that
Of course.
can see it? Thank you.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on. Here we go. Sorry. So yes, let's take a look. So the vestibule is going to be saved. Here's the interior. So this is, again, falling apart. It's not safe at this point for anybody to really spend too much time in here. You could see some collapsed areas over here where it's just the ceilings are coming down. It's unfortunate, but this is what happens with ongoing water is just the enemy of buildings, as you probably know, especially older buildings. And more importantly, the building has so many openings and it's not conditioned. So it's freezing in the winter and it's hot in the summer, and that just encourages mold and all kinds of other unfortunate elements to just take its toll. It's really what's happened here. None of this was demolished by human hands. This is all just natural, ongoing decay. So, in terms of building code, yeah, this is, I think it goes without saying, it's completely uninhabitable. There's no life safety systems in the building. The plaster that initially served as a form of fireproofing for the steelwork is gone. So I believe that's kind of self-explanatory once you see the pictures, the images here.
And again, Mark, that portion that we're highlighting, that's where that red part where it appears to be a brick warehouse. That is not in the front of the lobby or the marquee, but really within that portion that's located in Halsted.
Yeah, this is the rear portion with the high roof, as you see here, that we would like to remove. And the portion in the front, which is this portion here, we wish to maintain and restore. So those images that you saw were this red box, basically, this big red box. You know, the effect on the remaining portion of the building, in the case of partial demolition, as mentioned many times, what we're going to do in terms of the demolition, but I would like to also say a couple of other things. This is a residential neighborhood, and though it looks like a massive demolition project, we have to keep in mind that this is basically an empty box. So the demolition, in terms of its impact on the neighborhood, is actually relatively minimal because we're just removing the wall, which is, granted, a large wall, but it's not as though the interior is full of floors and walls and offices and other elements that would have to be demolished as well. Once the wall comes off and the roof is gone, it's really nothing else that has to be taken out of this location. So I just want to bring that to your attention as well in terms of its potential impact on the neighborhood.
But what about the environmental factors? Is there asbestos? I saw lots of moldy walls and things in there, environmentally sound.
We would have to, that would have to be tested, to be quite honest with you. We have not crawled around and looked at pipe insulation and things of that sort. If there is anything that's potentially hazardous, we would have to comply with all of the code regulations when dealing with that type of material, as we would on any project within the city of Newark. One of the things that we probably don't have to worry about too much is a lot of soil being removed. As you know, a lot of Newark is sitting on contaminated soil as well. So yes, granted, there may be some asbestos pipe insulation in here. The plaster, I doubt, but you never know, right? The flooring has carpeting on it, and it probably has concrete under it. So I doubt if there's any asbestos containing, vinyl flooring. Um, you know, so that's kind of what we're looking at right now. But that would be dealt with if, in fact, it did exist, and we would have to do a phase 1 environmental survey before getting into the details of a demolition project. So, our plan in terms of demolition is to, right where that blue line is, to take out this wall, this roof, and the opposite side of the building. Currently, this area here, which Thomas will talk about, is an office building. But we have plans for that as well. But we want to maintain the beautiful front facade, the decorative entry, and really try to make this a special project on South Orange Avenue, and pay homage to to the history of this building. And that's our goal.
Thank you. Is this a part 2 to this presentation?
Yes, I'm gonna sign off.
Could we ask questions first of the first?
Sure. I'm sorry about that, Richard. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
When you said that the lobby area is going to be maintained and so forth, how are you going to incorporate that into the building? I mean, is it going to be open to the public to go in and look, or is it going to be offices? Or, I mean, in other words, we are as a commission looking at the exterior of the building. And so to find out how you're going to incorporate what you want to do on the inside, I mean, maybe you don't even have to keep that stuff. I don't know.
And I think what Tom will provide, as part of the design, kind of show how we're incorporating the lobby area and the marquee with the new construction design.
Okay.
And I'll let Mark answer that, but that was the intent of that.
The only question that I would have is on the roof that you have, the orange color roof or so. What do you call those kind of
Terracotta?
Oh, the terracottas. Yeah, terracotta tile. Yes.
I mean, I know that it's leaking in there too. You're going to maintain that roof, or
Oh, yeah. This terracotta, we definitely want to,
okay, that's good.
replace, maintain. We want to take. Our intention is to take this facade and clean it and restore it, get rid of this ugly signage, give it a whole new facelift, and make it just make it beautiful. Lighting under here, the whole thing. That's our plan.
I just had three questions for the applicant. From the image that you currently have on the screen, it seems that the ground floor windows on either side of the main entrance have these little tiny little square windows. My question to you is, when this building was built in the 1910s or 20s, were there large storefronts at that location? Because I see the outline of what could be a storefront. So is your application kind of restoring it to the way it looks now, or to the storefront with a large plate glass window that it might have been there in the 1920s?
I'm going to let Tom kind of talk about the new design, because we are changing that. I'll be honest with you. That is going to be, we're not going to, when you see the new design, you will not see these square windows.
Because it looks like something like that ground floor has kind of changed over time. It looks like it might have been more open beforehand. And the second question I had is, I'm seeing from the inside of the lobby, you have a couple of like old looking chandeliers or something on like image 9 or something. Are those original to the structure? Because I see from original other photos of the Vincent Minnella Theater online that there were originally like large chandeliers in the atrium. Are those part of the preservation project or something different?
Yes, they are. Our intention is to salvage all of the light fixtures, and have them cleaned and relamped. The light fixtures are rather unusual. You can see even here.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, I noticed that.
There's this one over here. I've never seen light fixtures like this before.
Yeah,
you didn't take pictures of the ones that was actually the drop from the ceiling.
Yeah, I'm looking for that one. That ceiling one when you first walk in. I don't know if I have an image of that. We might have one in our file. Maybe Tom can pull it up. But yeah, there's a really interesting one when you first walk into the lobby.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is yes, our intention is to save the light fixtures, redo the plaster work, the medallions, and really try to express the character of the building.
And just the last question I had, the third one, is the interior ornament for the theater. Is this carved in plaster or stones, or like how strong is the materials for the like the column capitals on the inside of the theater building, the part that's being demolished? So
yeah, they're
to save, or is it just plaster that's so decayed?
They're all it's all plaster work, Commissioner. And it's not stone, and it's all surface applied. It's not, so these are false. They just look like you could actually go there, but there's no access there. But yeah, your point is like these columns, they're twisted, they're rotated. And we did discuss with the commissioners on the site, of following that motif when in the area that we're preserving and keeping, because that was part of this. Like this is all plaster work here, and it's starting to show some signs. It's obviously much worse at the top, and the damage is making its way down.
Yeah, some of that plaster will be difficult to replace, but at least I think that the chandeliers are really important because those are metal and unique, and you might be able to reproduce some of the plaster, but certainly the original chandeliers are worth saving.
Yes, that's our plan.
Now,
Definitely.
when you were talking about this part here with the 4 columns and so forth, this is part of the interior of the movie house or whatever. And so this is what will be coming out of the building and being taken down and replaced. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and commissioners, when we went on our site visit, all the lighting and all the things that was going to be, they're going to inventory all those things and try to incorporate everything they can in the building as incorporated, but in whatever they can't incorporate it, we spoke with them about possibly donating it back to the city of Newark, maybe for like they've done when they did with is that Queen of Angels?
Mhm.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see if we could save these 4 columns, even if they can be dismantled carefully, and because they're, in my estimation, they're probably wood, not solid plaster, but they're probably wood, and sitting on a base of some sort with a decorative capital, like a Corinthian capital. So it would be kind of interesting to see if we could save those and put them aside and maybe have them in the entry or feature them in the building itself.
Yeah, I think there's any number of salvage companies like I think Good Old Things in Scranton, New York, that sells these old architectural ornaments, columns of that size, and some of them are they sold them for quite expensive. So some of these architectural elements, even if they look decayed now, might be pretty valuable and therefore worth saving.
Agree. Okay. Good Old Things. Thank you.
Are there any more questions as relates to this part of the presentation? No. Well, let's move on to the second part of the presentation.
Okay. I'm going to stop my share. There we go.
So just a brief introduction. So incorporating the front facade of that building, Tom is going to discuss the new design. We're proposing to do a 5-story mixed-use building. There will be some residential units on the Halsted side of that property. Mark referenced that office building. So that office building is lot 37. That's also not within the district. So this project with the new design will incorporate the existing the existing Stanley Theater along with that office on the corner of Halsted. So Tom, if you want to discuss.
Ms. Moore, that's just one question. His presentation is still in line with the demolition, right?
No, Tom.
So that means that we don't need to talk about that yet.
Okay, so right now we're on the demo.
Yeah, let's stay with the demolition.
All right.
But are the commissioners, any more questions as relates to the partial demolition of this theater? Any concerns or any questions?
Chairman Smith, when we had the design review meeting, one of the things I asked the applicant or owner to do is to take some steps to preserve what's remaining of the I guess the roof line too, so you're not getting the exposure to the elements. So if that can be incorporated in whatever motion is placed on the record.
Sure. And just for the record, the 3 commissioners who went to the visit was Commissioner Grosclaws, Commissioner Smith, myself, and Commissioner O'Toole. They all were there at the site visit.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, to all of you, I'm always concerned about what's next door. And if the neighborhood perceptions of what is going on, has anyone had any conversation with people? It's gonna be a messy demolition. And I just, and I'm not saying prevent it, but I don't know how much preparation the community was given about this going to happen, right on that block. Those streets are very narrow up in there. So I guess that's just a suggestion more than
Yeah.
a question.
Actually, I think, doesn't Halsted run in a one-way direction? I believe it does.
It does.
Yeah. And so typically, Commissioner, when we get to, when we feel as though that we're going to head towards a planning or zoning board,
Mhm.
we generally recommend that our developer clients engage in conversations with local folks. Maybe there's a church nearby, maybe there's a church across the street. Just knock on the door, introduce themselves, let them know what the plan is. You
Exactly.
know, that's always a good move, politically, you know, when you want to do a big project like this, and just neighborly. You know, Newark is full of neighborhoods, and it's always good to inform folks as to what's happening in their neighborhood. So we haven't gotten to that step yet, Commissioner.
Okay.
We have to get past past you guys first.
Okay.
You don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Just had another question, which is at the entrance to the theater on the sidewalk, cast into the bronze sidewalk, there's a sign that says like Stanley Theater. Is that going to be preserved as part of it?
On the main entry?
Main entrance on the
Yes.
sidewalk.
Yes.
The mosaic.
Yes, on the sidewalk, yes. It's embedded into the concrete.
Okay, and the last
It's going to be cleaned and preserved.
question I had is for the marquee, when you restore the marquee, what will the signage be on the marquee? Will it say like Stanley Theater, Newark Gospel Tabernacle, or will that be determined by the by the new occupant of the ground floor retail? So like will that kind of signage, how will that new signage on the marquee evoke the blinking lights or the aesthetics of a 1930s theater?
Yeah, that's I think Thomas will respond to that one. I was just focusing on demolition. But there will be some signage there.
Actually,
Yeah, and I think Commissioner Zhang, all those, that particular question, he certainly will be able to go in detail in the second part of this application, because we did ask those questions when we went on the site visit.
Okay.
Any more questions? Can I get someone to make a motion for demolition, partial demolition of this?
Anthony, excuse me, you have to go to the public
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry. Yes, sure did. Forgot. I apologize. Is there anyone here from the public?
No, I don't see any raised hands.
Okay. So can I get a commissioner to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do we have
Is that Commissioner Epps?
Yes, it is.
Commissioner
Yep.
Epps? And Commissioner Hollis, you had a suggestion that we make a motion, but also with the condition about the roofing. So we maybe want to, can you second that and add that in there for us?
Yeah, that would be application number H24-196 to incorporate the condition that the applicant owner will take some strides to maintain whatever portion that's left of the roof line to preserve the interior pieces of it.
With the same type of ceiling, roofing material that is there on the building now. Is that correct? So in other words, it's a clay.
No, I was just looking for a covering to preserve the covering.
I mean, this roof, as you can see, has some
and I guess
damage.
I want to make
We were in the
sure
middle
that
of a
they-
motion.
We're in the middle of motion.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify that the condition was just to apply some kind of covering or preservation of the roof line, because I know it's open to the elements today. If you have to put some tarpaulin or whatever, something that would prevent further deterioration of the building.
So we have a second motion.
No, that was a second to a commissioner.
Second to the
X.
first. Second to the first.
So Ms.
Commissioner.
Combs, you made that, Ms. Hollis, you made that motion? Did you second that motion?
No,
No.
no, no. I was the second to
It was the second.
Commissioner X.
I made the motion, it was Epps who made the motion.
Right.
Yes, so Ms. Hollis, Ms. Combs is making this motion, the second motion now.
No, no, no. I just second the motion.
She
with that
seconded the
Yes.
motion with a
Yes.
condition.
Condition.
Yes, that's what I'm asking, yes.
Okay.
Motion made by Commissioner Caldwell Epps,
Mhm.
seconded by Commissioner Combs Hollis. Commissioner Grosskloss,
Yes.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Yes.
Commissioner Zhang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell Epps.
Yes.
Commissioner Combs Hollis,
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes.
Motion carry, 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Miss Kevlin, I noticed you didn't call Commissioner O2. Is there
Yeah,
a reason
because
why?
he came in late, that's why I didn't.
Okay, got
I
it.
didn't call him yet. He's gonna be able to vote on the next application.
Thank you.
So are we gonna move to the part 2 of this application, then come back to Mr.
I
Peanut?
guess, yeah, that's, yeah, because they're
Okay.
already in
Very
there.
good. So, the next application is same address, not 983-987 South Orange Avenue, H24197. Applicant is proposing to construct new 5-story mixed-use building and 16 residential units above.
Good, good evening, commissioners. I want to, hold on a second, just.
Thomas, just introduce, Mr. Reynolds, could you introduce yourself and
yes,
how you are related to the project?
Tom Reynolds, I work with Mark. He's actually sitting right over there. I focus mostly on the addition side of this. Mark really focused on the standards on the demolition. So I thought it'd probably be best if I could sort of introduce and walk you through what we're planning on doing with the project and how especially some of the restoration goals that we have for the facade on South Orange Avenue. And what I'm going to do is start with sharing this screen here. I just want to, I know Mark started with the orientation of where this project is, but here you see the gray area, the lot number 36 that's shown on this tax map. That is the theater, and then 37 is that brick office building that's next door. The church, the Newark Gospel Tabernacle, was in ownership of both properties. Immediately adjacent behind is the city of East Orange. This line that I'm starting to highlight here, that actually is the border along with back over here. And then on this side of Halstead, we have a residential neighborhood. And then obviously we all know South Orange Avenue as this major commercial thoroughfare through the city. Here we have the survey, just to give you again the placement. So with the elevations that are shown on here, you can see that this is like a 57-foot mass of the building that you guys have just approved for the demolition. But we really want to keep this part here, this 2-story facade, and then subdivide the balance into 9 2,500 square foot lots. And in those lots create 4-family housing that will have vegetated backyards, have parking, and sort of fit the Newark context while taking the historic theater facade and creating an addition and you can see this addition step back right here so that it ends up behind that Spanish tile roof line. One of the other things that we're going to do is, we are definitely keeping this entryway. I'm going to grab just a circle here. that Stanley Theater that's in the floor is roughly in this location. We are intending to keep that and clean it and restore it. There's this interesting stonework that's here. We just want to, this is in good condition. It just needs somebody to go in there and brush all the leaves out, and we want to keep all of that. The lobby area originally extended sort of that bulk there, which going back and forth in terms of how much of this wall to demolish. We actually plan on reducing that and trying to work with the, and I'll show you in pictures later, the stucco work that's on the wall currently to give access to the elevator side of the lobby. And then there's these two spaces which we, I think Mr. Miles Zhang had mentioned. It looked like there was a storefront in here. I'm not 100% sure that it was a storefront. We couldn't find any photos old enough to show that it might have been, but it also feels as though that was more of a ticketing area for the on back of, back office space, if anything, for the theater, that the main path of travel through would be the entrance through and then back to the theater this way, and that this would have been sort of back of house stuff. Seeing as there is the existing retail space in the neighboring building, we are keeping a bulk of the retail on that side of the building, and then using the space over here to create amenity space for the building addition for the tenant residents of the building. And the hope is, keeping those glass doors, keeping that beautiful gate, but have, it would be open because, the tenants need to be able to get into the building, would allow this facade to be experienced definitely more than it is currently today, where that gate is closed and you have to kind of like get close and lean in. And then there's also a historic plaque that exists right in this corner here. I think we're just going to keep that where it is. It talks about the theater and its history, or potentially get a new one. But we do want to make sure that is, understood as the theater is kept here. The second floor and all the floors above, we're going to be creating a number of residential units. I know the original drawing you said had 16. The intent is to do, we wanted to reduce the density on here down to 14 units. So these units here will probably be combined, and then this will probably be combined as well, so that you have a two bedroom and a 3-bedroom unit, and that'll to reduce the number of units. And then as we get up here, you can actually see the tile roof. We're stepping that building back behind that tile roof so that that tile roof does remain. And I want to actually going to go to a separate document. This is as you originally had it. But one of the things that we have done since, we are changing the name to a Stanley Theater Square, clearly noting that this building was once a theater. As Mark mentioned, we're going to remove that wall sign. We're going to remove the through wall air conditioners. And then for the retail spaces, we're trying to reuse, sort of for egress, the existing wood doors. And let's see, I'm sharing the whole screen so I can show the photo. So here is the doors. What we want to do essentially is replace that wood door with a new wood door, clean and repaint these semi-engaged columns and all that beautiful scroll work, just because it's in pretty decent condition. And since everything here essentially is a plaster work, and there are a lot of great plaster masons in the city, we want to have them essentially just clean and restore the facade elements. It's quite nice to see that this is kept. One of the things you'll note though is at the bottom, it's mostly just trim work, but this has it's seen better days. So just having, say, the bottom piece here replaced as well with something that can actually stand the weather a little bit better. So probably like a polyvinyl carbonate trim pieces to infill, and then have that fixed. Additionally, where there's a set of lights that are above those doors, right now they're just like a simple commercial wall sconce. Sorry, let me zoom out. And what we want to do is to essentially either find or reuse the existing sconces that are in the building. We want to see how watertight they are. If not, then purchase something that is similar to that arts and crafts style, and put it in the front of the building. We're still sort of sourcing something that doesn't have that level of decoration, because the ones that are inside the building don't have it, especially along the glass, but do have it above, below, and beyond and behind it. This is right now the closest thing we found, but we're still looking. But the real hope would be to find something that matches. And just for context, this is what is currently outside of there, just a watertight wall mount fixture. And sorry, there was some other photos that didn't make it in here that I'm going to pull up. The interior, so this is right when you walk.
Mr. Reynolds, we just want to make sure that that you stay with the design of the new construction only.
Oh, the new construction only. Okay,
yeah.
Then I will go back to the new construction. So for the new construction, one of the reason, we kept for a simple fiber cement facade, simple window pattern that is relatively somewhat repetitive, with the intent that that becomes innocuous, something that you don't even notice really, but then that you could really focus on the facade that we're repair and restoring. We wanted to replicate the Palladian style windows down on the first floor in the retail and the residential amenities space. There's an existing banding that runs across the building here that we're going to try to replicate underneath the windows down here. It's essentially looks like it's about a 1x6 that's bump out to create this level of depth there that we're going to repeat here. I think we mentioned the step back of the building. In the marquee, there is, hold on a second, sorry. There's the existing sort of light holes from when this was a scrolling light marquee. We're intending to have those replaced with LED bulbs so that those can be reused, have this all cleaned up, have the new sign essentially inserted in between the light bands. We'll work with the developer to figure out some welcoming message, or maybe it's just the address number that exists within that white part at the top here. And if we, I have another photo open. And similar to what's here now, where it's like the 985, and then this will say Stanley Theater Square across here. Have this all cleaned up, repainted, LED lights installed. You can see the gutters and downspouts that were added from an inline to this PVC pipe that was installed. I'd like to have that removed. Find and trace, you can't see it in this photo, but there are still evidence of those inline gutters. Find and trace and have that reutilized, replace, and then essentially touch up and clean all this stucco that's here. And then the new addition again will just be a simple design that doesn't distract from that South Orange Avenue facade.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
The two doors that are on either side of the main entrance.
Yes.
Is it possible that you could eliminate those two doors and inside the theater, or not the theater, but the lobby, have a door going into the left and the right groups and so forth? They don't look like they were original, and I don't know, they're not very attractive to me. I don't know about anybody else. And I would like to see maybe larger lights. Look at the teeny weeny lights above those doors. I'd like to make a statement with lighting outside, but maybe put the doors on the inside. Is that a possibility? Or I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
2006.
Just a few old photos of the theater before the meeting. It seems that the doors locations are original, but the original doors were a better quality wood than the simple
Right.
white, cheap white thing right now.
And in this photo from when it was still the Casa Italiana, you know, you can see that the doors were there. And like you mentioned, the lights here, which were definitely similar to what was inside, which, like I said, in our goals, we wanted to either restore or reuse or find something similar to put in those spots so that it would be something more grand than the existing just watertight, you know, facade fixture that's there currently. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention. There are these quite nice, well, look almost like a stained glass exit signs. Those are like a false window on a box with a light inside. We wanted to reuse those at the you know, along with some of the code required exit signs, but inside the building to highlight the exits of the building. There are, I believe, 12 of them. So I think we have enough to at least get the first few floors to use them as part of the wayfinding. And then this rendering shows sort of the residential side where it definitely is a little bit more consistent with the residential neighborhood. We want to place some plantings and lighting along the street face so that this is a little bit, you know, really matches the residential neighborhood on both sides of the street here.
I just wanted to add that I really appreciate how the application looks like it creates some homeownership opportunities and not just rental opportunities for the kind of townhouses on the side street. I think that's a real important issue in Newark.
Yeah.
Does that complete your presentation, Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Yes, great. Commissioners, do you have any questions as it relates to the proposed new design for this building?
I have one question.
Sure.
The
Commissioner O'Toole?
yes, the height of the residences on Halsted Street, are those within the parameters of the heights for the zone?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so the zone, this is in the C1, Commissioner O'Toole, so we are meeting in respect to the density and the height and everything else within the zone.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, commissioners?
I have a question. Sorry, turn my camera on. Do you have any images of buildings in the surrounding area?
Sorry, I'm just gonna check to see if I had anything from the oh, by the way, that was the chandelier that is in the lobby there that we're hoping to keep and have a new light bulbs or new light controls put inside. Let me scroll around. You can't see it there.
If you guys don't have pictures, you can do a Google Earth and then just
so you can somewhat see it along the side here. So you have these two adjoining two families, then additional, well, 2-3 family houses essentially creates the rest of the street here. So that's essentially what's staring at that almost 200-foot blank brick wall.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any more questions, commissioners? No more questions. You can take down your presentation, Mr. Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Secretary, do we have any questions or concerns from the public?
No, there are no raised hands.
Okay, great. Can I get a commissioner to make a motion for this new project? H24197.
A motion to approve H24197.
I second that.
And Commissioner O'Toole, Ross Lawson O'Toole.
No, 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 no. It was Zhang.
Okay,
Okay.
and in future, can you state your name, please, when you're making the motion? Because there's a lot going on in the screen right now, so please
Motion,
state your name. Thank you.
Commissioner Zhang, motion to approve H 22-197.
Commissioner O2 seconds that motion.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Zhang, seconded by Commissioner O2. Commissioner Grosclaus,
Yes.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Yes.
Commissioner Caldwell Epps,
Yes,
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Commissioner Combs Hollis,
Yes.
Commissioner O2,
Yes.
Commissioner Zhang,
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes.
Motion carry 8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
again. Thanks, the commissioners for their time, and their input at the, meeting, at the site visit. Really appreciate the comments, so. And
Thank-
Commissioner Wilder, welcome aboard.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brian.
Thank you for a thoughtful application.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So, Madam Secretary, is everyone taken out?
Yes.
Yes. So before we move on, for all who have never met, this is our alternate commissioner, Commissioner Wilder. He's an architect. He's with, he has his own company, Think Wilder Architects, and he's doing a lot of great work in the city of Newark, and we're happy to have him as one of our esteemed commissioners on Landmark. So thank you for joining the commission, Mr. Wilder.
welcome.
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 Good to see you all.
Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. So I have a question, Kevlin.
Yes.
Can I introduce the next project, but do I stay on it or does it sustain or do I leave?
No, you can introduce it, then you can just say you're gonna recuse yourself.
So meaning that, do I need to come off camera or?
Yes.
Okay.
Come off camera, yes.
I need to do the
And
same.
Miss Epps too.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Okay,
So you can call it and then you can just, and then,
I had so much trouble. Oh, so I can just,
you can just, yeah, you can just,
Okay.
yeah.
okay, all right.
And Miss Hollis is gonna take over once Anthony recuse himself.
and Commissioner Epps includes herself. Okay, so the next application up is 501-551 Broad Street, James Street Commons. Application H24-204. Applicant is Marcy DePina, Executive Director of Newark City Parks Foundation. The owner is the city of Newark, and applicant is proposing to make structural improvements to the Harriet Tubman Square. The work will include repaving the walkways, entry plazas, improved program area, replacing the crushed stone space, seating, irrigation, lighting, interpretive and wayfinding signage, replacing trees, and a new bathroom, and a playground for younger and older children. Can you invite them in, Madam Secretary?
Sure.
Good evening again, everybody. Evening, commissioners. Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Pena, there's someone else with you, right?
Marcy,
There is,
what's the name? Because they doesn't have the hand raised.
Ann Sartell Raphael, and she has 2 screens. She needs to have both screens on because one she needs to use to share and the
Okay.
other for her camera.
So, Mr. Pena, while she's coming on, as you know, I have to recluse myself.
Yes.
And so I'm going to leave, and also Commissioner Epps is going to leave, but you're in good hands.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you,
And thank
Mr. Pena. So we'll wait for your architect to join, and then I guess you'll introduce the project, and then we'll take it from there.
Great. As Jan is our lead architect with Edgewater Designs. I think many folks are already familiar with this project. Harriet Tubman Square, formerly known as Washington Park, is a historic park in the city of Newark that has evolved over the last several centuries and has always been an important space within the city for civic gathering. It was the former site of Newark Academy. and is a beloved space that has been evolving and was renamed and rechristened in 2022 by our mayor as Harriet Tubman Square. And part of that christening included the installation of the Harriet Tubman Monument. The Harriet Tubman Monument included within it a plaza that was built around the monument. And originally we had a plan for the park that was created way before my time and way before the time in which the current configuration of the park was envisioned. It was a project that was led by numerous stakeholders within the city and pioneered and really led by Fidelco. And that was a plan that was originally part of the application that we had with the Harriet Tubman Monument. But we quickly, after public meetings and conversations and tree surveys, we quickly went back to the drawing board once we understood, and when I say we, I mean Newark City Parks Foundation in its new role as of 2021, that the historical features and the fact that the park is a central feature in the James Street Historic Commons District, that we needed to go back to the drawing board and take a look and really revise the plans. So throughout 2023, we held a series of public meetings, some large, including a larger public meeting in which the mayor attended and some of the stakeholders as well in Newark Museum of Art. And then we held some smaller stakeholder meetings in all of the wards, because it's not just a downtown project, it's a beloved park for all of the city. And then we also did extensive surveys online to get public feedback as to what people would like to see in the park, especially given that there's an increased need within the space to accommodate the growing number of residents that live in the downtown area and specifically surrounding the park itself. Some of the key stakeholders include the Newark Museum of Art, the Newark Public Library, Audible, of course, all of the residents that live in the area, the historic James Street Commons District, as well as the school that is located just across the street from the park as well. So after we did that research, we created a plan, we created a report, and based on that feedback, as well as 3 different tree surveys that we did, one with the city of Newark and then 2 independently, we went back to the drawing board, considering all of the historical components of the park, which include the pathways. The pathways have been deemed historic. Many of the monument placings have been deemed historic. And of course, the beloved trees, many of which are extremely old. We went back to the drawing board, and Jan really designed a plan around all of those considerations that would be complementary to the monument, respectful of the history of the park, as well as keeping as many trees as we could possibly keep that were healthy trees. So that kind of brings us up to where we are now. There's a new plan. The primary thing that came out of our public meetings and surveying was, just give me one second, I'm pulling this up, that people within the community really wanted to see, number one, the park repaired. Although the park, is a beautiful space, and the Harriet Tubman Monument has been really an elevation of the space, it's also brought a lot more traffic to the park because now we have people. This is now, we received national and international press around the monument when it was unveiled last year in March, and we have seen increased foot traffic. So the need for the park to be improved became more and more evident as, we're seeing this increased traffic. We currently have cracked paveways. We have relatively poor lighting within the park. There's absolutely no seating within the park. And in addition to that, people have looked at the park as a pass-through park and just, a place that you walk through to get from one end to the next. But the programs that have been going on the park well before my time, show that the park is more than just a pass-through park. And now with the Harriet Tubman Monument, again, it has become a destination park. So the public need to increase the amenities in the park became very clear. Outside of the repairs that I mentioned, in addition to that, we also had a large response for a bathroom within the park, for children's playgrounds, for improved and increased plantings within the park, and of course, just general improvements in the entry plazas. And so here we are. After all of that, Jan took all of those things into consideration and created a new plan, in which I will pass it off to Jan so that she can show the plan.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, everybody. I believe we have presented once before, Marcy, but you did a fantastic recap on the whole project. But I believe we had sent out the plan, so
We did.
I'll just share, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen. To
And just for clarity, Jan, we shared publicly these plans in a follow-up meeting once the all of the public engagement, all of the community engagement was complete. We shared along with the report these plans. And then we also did share with a smaller group, Pallavi and Commissioner Smith, Chair Smith as well. And I think there were maybe one or two other people that were on that call. But this is the first time I think that we're
Right.
presenting to this entire group.
Okay. So here is a color rendering of the proposed improvement. So I think you noted this has gone around in a few iterations that I was involved with since about 2016 or 17, I think, with that stakeholder group, the owner. So it looks a lot different from then. Once the City Parks Foundation got involved, and we really looked at this as a serious project. What can we get accomplished within our budget? But so the other thing is we're very sensitive that this is a historic site, and to keep the basic layout of the park as it is now. It's not in great condition. It's not utilized as much as it could be, as Marcy said, and won't repeat all, of the reasoning behind it. But so what we want to do is take what's there and make it better and improve it and add some other program elements to the park that are not there. I mean, right now it's just pathways. Really, I don't think there's any seating at all. And there's, a lot of monuments scattered, and they all have historic significance and for each one and at a different time over the years that were put there. So all those monuments are going to remain in the exact same locations. All these pathways, which have been in place for a few hundred, or at least a couple of hundred years, I think, are going to stay in place. So, we are going to take those, we're going to repave them. And in some cases where the pathways have been extended out, whether it's from vehicles or people walking because they're not wide enough. We're going to widen them a tiny bit with some brick edging. As you see that main pathway that goes across, that's again, these are all existing pathways. We're going to take that main pathway and add brick on either side. So it'll give it another 4 feet of width, as well as coming from the corner of Washington Place and Washington Street towards the Harriet Tubman Monument. To also just line that with brick. And really it's because the way it's been used, it needs more space. So we want to introduce the brick, from the surrounding area that will be kind of an accent or border for those pathways. The new components of the park, as Marcy mentioned, are 2 playgrounds. As you can see, they're lettered C, and they are along Washington Place. And the idea for these parks is that the design is somewhat organic. We want them to feel very park-like, very nature-based. The materials we're using are wood materials, and there'll be, of course, rubber surfacing. We need them to be safe. One playground is, and we're, by the way, they're confined within the spaces we have to work with because of the pathway layouts. So the upper one here will be used for a little bit older kids, and the one on the bottom will be used for younger kids, so of smaller play equipment. But they're kind of scattered in these two places. The other addition to the park is a comfort station, which was one of the elements that was requested by the community. And that's this right in here, this letter D is a new comfort station being designed by Nina Cook-John, who designed the Harriet Tubman Monument. So we really have a lot of consistency in materials in the park, using woods, Corten steel, not so much steel over in the comfort station, but a lot of the similar woods will be used there. And then this will be sitting alongside this newly improved kind of multi-purpose event space, which is currently just a gravel area. And we're going to pave that space using the same pavers. The same pavers that we used over at the Harriet Tubman, and then introduce a concrete made to look like stone. So, the idea and the design behind this space really is, derived from all the angles that pass through the park. So, besides that, we're going to upgrade the landscaping. There'll be new, right now it's just grass and trees. We're going to add some planted areas along this event space up on the corner of Broad and Washington Street. And, because of new regulations with the DEP, we are going to include some basins for stormwater management. And you can see kind of they're hatched here. There's 3 basins that will be planted. So that's really it. The big improvements are new pathways, new paving, the playgrounds, and this main event space. And I'll just show you where we are with the drawings. This is the set that was sent to the city, and I'll just kind of skip over some of this civil. These are construction documents, so they look pretty technical. I'm trying to get to some excuse me, enlargements here, planting plans, and then we have these that's irrigation. We're going to have it fully irrigated. The playgrounds, which are really, I think, going to be really nice designed. Again, they're very organic, very nature-based, combination of seating and a climbing element. There's a climbing structure and small pieces for the young kids. They go walk up on a mound and they can slide down. This is a soft pathway with arches and a planted brick maze in there. I'm trying to find some pictures here. We also have an area in the playground of musical instruments. As you can see here, will be in one of them. This is what one of the, this will be a wood, what's a robinia, made of robinia, which is a very, very durable wood component. This is in the younger kids' playground. And this one here is in the older kids' playground, which is, it's very similar design, but much more going on with slides and different kind of climbing activities. These are the arches. The other thing I wanted to show is we are introducing, that's the maze, three signs at three different points in the park, which are there's one sign at the corner across from the museum, another sign right over here on Broad, and another sign at the corner of Broad and Washington Street, which it will be a brick with this Core 10 cut out for the sign. And this is the same font they've used at the Harriet Tubman Monument. And this will be backlit as well. So there'll be three of these very, very low key, but again, pulling together the materials that we're using at the monument. So I don't know, Marcy, anything else?
I think that's the overall plan of what is intended with this project. In terms of, I don't know if you all wanted to see materials or any of the comfort station design.
Does any of
Oh.
the commissioners have questions regarding the presentation so far?
Yes, I do, but I can't get into anything. Shit.
Is that Commissioner Woodridge?
Yes.
And
Oh,
by
you
the way,
heard me.
this is the sorry,
You
this is
heard me.
the
I hear
Thought I
you.
was- thought I was cursing to myself.
No, we can hear you.
here's the comfort station.
Right. I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, and that is, it looks beautiful. What's the width of your paths?
They are approximately so these I call them secondary paths.
Okay,
They are 5 feet wide.
good. That's
Okay,
what I,
and the major ones with the brick edging is 5 feet plus 2 and 2. So
that's
it's
what I
like
was
9
hoping.
feet across. Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for, to basically accommodate the codes for basically people that might be handicapped in a wheelchair or something like that, because the wheelchair radius is 5 feet. So if you
Right.
make it at least 6 feet, you basically have room on the side so a person doesn't fall off
Yeah.
into a wet soil or something like that. So your plan is beautiful. It's just
Yeah,
that I think the paths though need to have a little bit more width to them to accommodate wheelchairs.
Yeah, I mean, really we're using what's there.
Okay, okay.
It's the same, and the advantage of this particular park is it's relatively flat, so
Right,
you don't need any ramps anywhere
right.
for ADA. But if I make them too wide, then we lose the whole
I understand. I'm not giving you,
historic.
I'm not trying to talk about codes and all of that stuff so much.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
that I think in the areas where I'm not sure, I would just leave it up to you because you know the design here. I don't know if it should be when you come in from the entrance or exit, or when you're basically just walking around. Now, just walking around, because you have grass or different things on the side, you'll be okay. So
Yeah.
the interior spaces are not a problem for you there. And you talked about putting the brick on basically the sides of each path.
Right. So then that's a 9 foot wide,
That's
pathway.
fine.
So
That's fine.
yeah. And by the way, I didn't mention we also have some benches along here too, this main path.
Right, because you're going to get people that might be physically challenged. This is a good resting place for them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. And there'll be tables
Right.
that are set in fixed tables
Mhm.
in this main event place as well. On the sides we'll have tables. Actually, it's the same table that's in front of the New York Museum.
Great.
I
Great.
I had one question, which is the brick pavers for the entrance marked F. Are they like tile bricks or are they full depth bricks? So what is the depth of these bricks?
Yeah, they're bricks. They're full bricks, and they will be set. It's all level. You're not going to step anywhere, step up, but it was a way to kind of accent the entrance.
Yeah, I think that's a good feature. The reason I ask is the brick paving in the current park are they're like half-inch thick tiles, and after 10 or 20 years they've fallen apart.
Yeah, no. These are at least 2.5 inches thick.
Great.
So they're gonna last.
And they're all going to be in concrete, by the way. So it's yeah, I never use that thin brick for outdoors.
What is, excuse me, Miles,
Yeah.
what is the on the side of the brick? I can see the brick in the path or the white path, but then you sort of like have a gray line. What is that?
Oh, over here.
No, right in the middle. Any one of the paths around E, for example. There you go.
So, okay, so that's a good question, actually, which I forgot to bring up. So in this plaza area, this is going to be a bench that's built in along the side of the space so people can sit along here. Some of the part of the bench will have a back, and some of it will be backless.
Gotcha.
So this is it's not all the way across, but it's over. If I use this.
So in other words, where it looks like you have openings through there, people can walk right through the grass areas right into the bench.
This is not grass. This is all planted here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's most of the park is grass except where you see it's deeper green.
Okay.
That's planted. That you can't really walk through there.
And some of that will help to mitigate the flooding that occurs within the park. If you've ever walked through the park after a rainy day, not even that heavy rain, if that area is very prone to flooding.
Good.
This is the bench. There's two benches. I just put it in orange.
Got it.
I had one question, which is in the park to the right of the plaza, the letter B, there's one tree right there. If you zoom in that tree. So is that tree surrounded by permeable pavement, impermeable pavement? What is that material for the tree well?
So we're going to put in structural soil underneath the pavement here. Which, if you're familiar with that, it's a heavy aggregate soil used under pavements, and it's going that structural soil will be kind of like this underneath the pavement.
And does that make it water permeable?
Well, no, I mean, this is going to be solid pavement, but the pavement will be over structural soil so that the roots can easily grow underneath, you know.
Great.
That's good because currently the plaza is paved with like asphalt, and 20 years ago there were a couple of trees there, and the trees died because they didn't put structural soil there. So that's good.
Well, this will all have structural soil in here.
And the path that's the length, going the diagonal length, like for example where E is, what is that on the outside of the path? The gray line.
The gray line. Over here?
Right. Just on the outside of just on the outside of the path over here, like for example, the bottom of E.
This is this line here, this reddish.
Yes.
This is brick.
Okay.
This is brick. This is where right now this is just gravel area, so we're gonna just pave that. This is where all these paths come together.
The bricks that you're gonna lay, you're gonna put them down with joints?
Yeah, all these bricks are gonna be in concrete.
Okay, so
It's not going to be set on aggregate. It's going to be set on concrete. I mean, I'd like to do tight joints so you don't have a joint.
Right.
And we'll just do sand swept joints.
Right.
You don't have to worry about cracking over time, but they'll be set on concrete.
That's nice.
So this way you don't have to worry about settling.
Now, where the lights are the ones that I see these poles that are kind of.
Yeah. So excuse me, most of the lights, the existing lights, we're going to replace those lights with new lights and then add a few other lights.
What is your?
And I can't tell you exactly which are existing, which are new, but
I got you.
But there's not as many. We're showing many more that are there now.
I had a quick question. Is the topography of the park going to remain the same, given the fact that they built up like a berm type of situation in between the two pathways?
Yes and no. So over in this area, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, so this is, as you, if you remember, there's a nice berm there. We're not touching that, okay? The only areas that are going to change the topography is where we're putting these basins for stormwater capture.
Right.
And there's one here. There's one here. And then one over here, which I'm building a little bridge to go over it. And those have been sized by the engineer based on the amount of impervious coverage that, because we're adding, because these playgrounds, you know, were, I guess, considered in, you know, with the new regulations are very, very strict. We have to keep the stormwater on site. So they're going to become landscape features, but they are going to change the topography because they're going to be, you know, lower. But all the other, you know, as Marcy mentioned, we're trying to keep well, all the healthy trees, or,
Right.
you know, most of the healthy trees. There's a lot of trees that look healthy that are not, okay? They're rotted inside. So all the unhealthy trees are going to come out. You know, we've had 2 or 3 arborists come and you know, to make sure everybody's on the same page, including the city arborist. And, you know, so we've all come together and said, and they've looked at them and said, you know, which trees should remain. By the way, there's a few in the playground. And all this area is heavily treed. Those are all staying. There's a really big caliper tree here, which is very bad condition. That's coming out. There's a couple of trees in here that are coming out. So, you know, sometimes they look, they're in full leaf, but they're not in good shape. There's one over here. So, you know, with respect to that, I'm trying to put in a few trees to replace those trees. So, you know, we do have a lot of landscaping going in as well. It'll be a whole nother layer of interest that's not there now, because right now it's just except for a few spots, it's basically lawn and trees. So now we'll have, you know, native gardens. Like up here, there'll be all perennials and grasses. You know, we have the sun up here. And then I'm adding, you can see these little brighter green. I'm adding more deciduous trees that aren't there, and more understory trees, because right now they're mostly mature trees. So we're going to be adding red buds, shad blows, you know, nice flowering trees in the park.
That's great. On the subject of trees, I live at Walker House, so I walk through this park a lot, and I'm very excited about these improvements. But did you notice that there is a tree that I believe was drawn on by Jerry Gant?
Yes, there are actually 3 trees that Jerry Gant drew on, that he created, are on within the park. They are fading quickly, and that is part of what we were looking to help to preserve. We have been in contact with not only his estate, because obviously he's not here anymore to refresh them, and we have spoken as well with Josh. His last name is escaping me right now, who was recommended for us to speak to through his family's estate, to look at the trees and see what we can do to preserve them. So we are aware of that and taking that into consideration. You know, Jerry was and continues to be a beloved art ancestor in our community and a dear friend. So we, you know, right away talked about how can we preserve that.
That's
That
awesome.
artwork that's there, and also not only that, but pay homage to it. This was, I think, 2 years ago, actually, we worked with another group of artists in the city, and they created some metal work that had stakes that we wanted to put into the ground that would mark that. So there are talks there and how we can go about preserving it, because it is public art and it's a little sensitive in how you can actually, continue to preserve it without, messing with the integrity of the art itself.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that this is something that you honor and that you think is important. So that's great.
Extremely important. Thank you.
I have a question regarding the catch basins. I know the engineer still has to determine the depth of those for installation, but do you think you're going to require any fencing to protect
That's a great
it?
question. I actually I thought it would be a good idea to put just like a delineation. So you see this little post and rail, which is how high? It's only 2 feet high. So this post and chain will be surrounding each of those basins, and it's more of a visual barrier than, obviously somebody could hop over it, but I don't think we want to put fences in here. I mean, it's only 18 inches deep. Or actually, I should say it's a little bit more. I think it's 2 feet deep, but there's slope down. It's not like a drop. But I don't, we don't want people trampling through there, but I also don't want to fence them in. I think that's going to be overkill. And it is soft, it's landscape. So, but I am proposing to put those post and chain fence along each one.
The kind of grass inside the catchment basin, is it one of the grass that's more water resistant, or one that is it because it'll be a wetter
Yeah,
area?
it's called an eco mix. It's meant for basins. It's mostly native grasses. Switchgrass, and I don't remember actually I have the whole list here, but yes, it's meant for basins.
I wanted to add that preserving the berms is, I think, a really good idea too, because it's a great place to walk. I've been walking by the park for years, and you see people on the berms, and they'll sit on the berms if they don't sit on the benches. And without the benches, that's the main place people sit. So keeping those berms adds a lot of visual interest and a lot of
I
seating up.
agree. I think it's one of the nicest things about the park. It's just, you know, it's just the basins are part of the improvements. You know, didn't have them when we first started, honestly, but once we got started with the engineering, the other thing is, it's very costly to put everything underground. I mean, we do have a stormwater catchment underneath this event plaza, but I can't do it everywhere. And also, obviously there's all these trees, so.
I mean, those berms are their own thing, but the ones on Washington Street, the big one by Washington and Washington Place, that one's staying. Then that one's important.
Yeah, so
Just
this is probably the most noticeable one is right here, I think.
I just had one question. Two questions. You have the Seth Borden monument. Is there like a brick paver around the monument or something? How is that monument being integrated?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Have the Seth Borden monument.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. Yes, that is, we're doing is just, since it's kind of in the center, but it's not quite in the center, we, decided to, create a design around that. So this is all, again, this is just flush. You just walk through there. It's just the pavement changes here.
And I just one last question, which is you think the Seth Borden monument, the Don Luis Munoz Rivera little monument, and they're kind of out of a bronze material. Are there plans to restore those monuments, like to polish the bronze on the Rivera monument and the other ones?
Not
they like
not part of this project, no.
okay, because
The only thing I'm doing, and I don't remember I can't remember the names of all of them. This one, I don't know, I have it listed. The one right here, we're going to replace the stone around it because it's all kind of coming apart. So that will get replaced, but everything else is going to be as it is now.
Because there is some graffiti on the side of the
There
Seth Boyd.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mark.
that's got to be dealt with, I think, separately.
Yeah, but Miles, I can address that just a little bit. We did have the graffiti removed initially. We worked with, we work a lot with the city on maintenance. So DPW did come out and remove the graffiti to the best of their ability. Then we had CDS, which is the private maintenance company that we work with, look at it as well. And currently they've both said that that's the best that they can do with it. So we are aware that there is some restoration that needs to be done to that monument and the other one that you mentioned. So there are conversations around it. There is awareness around it. We just it is not, as Jan stated, it's not part of this particular project, but we are aware of it and working towards a solution to restore those and, have them, especially once this park is improved. We can't have the monuments looking, the drapes have to match the windows. So.
It's a thoughtful application. You've put a lot of work into it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question in reference to some of the playground equipment. Are we doing anything to mitigate any vagrancy in any of those structures?
Gosh, that was such a big question, and actually, and thank you for your question, because that was a big concern for us, and Jan can attest to, I think, 2 months of meetings that we had between ourselves, all of the partners in the city, including engineering, the Parks and Recreation Department, the Business Administrator's Office, and then, of course, partners, for exactly that reason. We went back and forth. We were not going to have this structure, and we really had to grapple with this idea of, here's a great playground that is somewhat bespoke, that's very unique, that's going to stand out, that's going to be really attractive and fun for young kids to come and play on. But is it going to invite, as you said, vagrancy and, potentially problems? And we really went back and grappled with, how do we reconcile these two things? Our children shouldn't be punished from having a great playground because we have to deal with, residents that don't have addresses, or people, maybe teenagers that are acting up, all of those things. But Jan can speak a little bit to sort of the transparency of this structure. Yes, we could say it, Jan.
Okay, good. All right, so this is the company that we're using. So you can see in these little pods there's space, but whenever you do a playground and you have different levels, there's always these side panels. So that it doesn't matter really what the playground is. If you're gonna have climbing up and slides down, you're always going to have these little spaces you're creating. But I think in this case, you can see right through there, and there's not a real solid roof at all. So nobody's going to live in there. And the other thing hopefully is the location, it'll be monitored a little bit more. But, the idea is that we're using this wood. Again, it's more nature-based. This is the company here, you can see. And I think it'll blend in a little bit better with the park than if we use the kind of plastic types of typical playgrounds that you see everywhere.
And so, just to follow up on that, after these multiple conversations that we had, as I said, going back and forth and really kind of weighing, how do we sort of reconcile these two very important concerns? One thing that came out of it, not only that, yes, these are somewhat transparent, you can see through them, they don't have a roof structure. I think we all know, anybody who's been downtown, and certainly from the work that we do in the parks, we know that anywhere that people can find a place to rest, that don't have homes, they are going to rest, right? We've dealt with it in many of the other locations throughout the downtown parks. So one thing that we discussed is how do we have a plan moving forward to monitor better. So cameras have been installed in the parks. So that's one thing. We'll be able to have access to those cameras. We are having public safety meetings and we'll continue to have public safety meetings where we can have an increased number of security from the Newark Police Department to just make sure that they're checking. And then of course, through the daytime, it's a little bit different because during the day there's on-site maintenance people. And there is more of a long-term vision for the Parks Foundation to have a park rangers program that would have some folks that would be on site to be able to provide, a presence of authority, but that really are there as ambassadors. So all of those measures are, ways in which we will hopefully be able to deter people from being vagrant and staying in those spaces when they shouldn't be. And, again, it really is a difficult, probably one of the most difficult things that we've had to tackle outside of course, the design itself, but just thinking about how the park will be used and what kind of, obstacles we may face or challenges that we may face with how people use this space once it is complete.
That's I do a lot of public parks and some in challenging areas, and it's always but what are we gonna do? We still have to provide for people to sit and play, or what, we can't not do anything. So
and the alternative is what we have right now, which is a park that has absolutely no seating with the exception
it's got
of the
nothing,
berms.
and yeah, that this, but the more it's used, the less of that you'll have, I think.
That's true.
I think they recognize that balance between control and creativity. You could have a park with total control, but then it has no opportunities for children to be children. And growing up in Newark, there's so many playgrounds in Newark that don't really allow children to express themselves.
Yeah.
Aren't just bespoke or custom designed to reflect the place and allow children to have a sense of danger or risk or something that makes it interesting. So I think the design pushes that limit in a good way.
Yeah, and the other thing, Miles, is these will be fenced, by the way. Both the playgrounds will have 4-foot high fencing.
What is the fence like?
The fence it's going to be a welded wire fence. Let's see. That's the bench, by the way, in the along the pathways. This is the bench in the it's wood. This is actually it's a composite wood in the vent space. This is the fence. The thing is, I want it to be very unobtrusive, yet nice looking. It's going to be black.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a historic fence, but it is not obtrusive, and it's more transparent than some of those really historic fences.
The problem, and I originally had something much more historic looking. The problem is, first of all, finding, this is a public bid to find something that is easy to find, not expensive. And if you have to replace something, you can replace it. We don't want something so custom that it becomes a problem over time. But I really wanted this just not to be so visual, to kind of just, you see through it and it's just really a barrier.
What's the height of the fence?
4 feet.
Okay.
Any other questions from our commissioners regarding the design, the presentation?
Well, Commissioner Grosclaws, the only thing that I'm thinking about, because I'm from Lincoln Park, and Integrity House came there in 1968, and we had benches in the park. And what we had to do is we had to have the benches removed because of the people putting newspapers on them, sleeping there, making a mess of everything. is there going to be any possibility that we'll have people there to just sort of monitor and and have the authorities say, I'm sorry, you can't sit here and you can't lay on the benches or something like that? You know what I'm saying? And as soon as we did that, the people at Washington Park then asked if they could have their benches removed and so forth. And I'm almost thinking of like the seating in subway cars in New York and what happened and who sleeps there.
Yeah, do they have
And what's their methods?
have the dividers or partitioned in ways that allow you to sit but not to sleep?
Yeah, these all have arms on them, you know, every like 4 feet. So give or take every 4 feet. So you can't really lay on here on these benches at all. The other thing is we don't have a lot of those, the ones that are along the path. There's not that many of them. Here's one. There's like 4 benches. It's not lined with benches.
Okay. I mean,
You know,
the thought that
if you look at historic photos of this park, the whole side of Broad Street is all bench. It's like all lined with a bench, you know. And then I looked at another time period and it had a wrought iron fence. So it's evolved, I think. But honestly, there's not a ton of seating here for people. It's, you know, for a park, that is. From my perspective, it's pretty limited.
Mhm. And it's the same issue with the playground that we just discussed. There isn't a lot of seating in this plan.
There's
We
no
are putting-
benches. There's
yeah.
no benches in the park, but there are these platforms
Mhm.
which kids can climb on and sit on. But there's no benches at all.
Mhm. And one of the things that came out of the surveys that we asked was that people wanted seating. One of the top renovation priorities was seating areas. 86% of the people wanted seating in the park. So again, it was really having to balance public, you know, desire and public need and public want, and also public safety, and making sure that the park is safe. But just to answer your question a little bit further, Commissioner Grosklaus, we also are looking at how we can monitor the park more, you know, in a much greater way. Currently, the Newark Police Department is in charge of monitoring the park, but we are looking to develop and fundraise for an ambassadors program that will hopefully have, you know, a more increased presence of people. But in the interim, we do have a great relationship with not only the police, but also the maintenance folks that do help, you know, just have a presence in the park to make sure that people move along if they're doing something or being vagrant, you know, that sort of thing. You know, and we will continue to build on that.
Okay.
So I'm
Does
recused, but
that,
can I have someone ask a question on my behalf? What about event space?
Yes. Jan, maybe you can show the program area again.
Yeah, that's this space right here where it says B.
So it's the same space that was currently, I call it the gravel pit, but it's not, it's crushed stone. And it's extremely difficult to program. If you've ever tried to dance on it, you know that it is not very danceable. You can't really sit on it. It's not user-friendly at all. So it's essentially the same space with a slightly larger, slightly expanded footprint.
It's a different shape. You know, what I wanted to do is separate the event space from these pathways. So we have this, you know, nice planted area, which by the way is going to be white spire birches in here with an underplanting. But so it doesn't extend out as far right now. It goes all the way to this path. So we're widening it, you know, we're going in a different direction. So that, you know, they have this, and then of course we have the comfort station there as well.
I just had two.
go ahead, Commissioner Zhang.
The two final questions. The first one is those green areas inside the inside the plaza, is that grass or another material?
No, this is all planted with
And the green
these
areas
sort of trees
next to letter B, those light green areas.
this.
Yes.
No, this is concrete.
Concrete.
This
Okay.
is paving. So this whole space is paved.
And the last question I had is, when you often pass through the park, you'll notice that people use the single electrical outlet in the park to charge their phones, to sit there by the electrical outlet box right there. Are there what kinds of electrical hookups are in the park for people to charge their phones when they sit on the bench or something like that? Because that outlet gets, dozens of people throughout the year.
Yeah, that's a good question, and that was kind of brought up today. We actually don't have right now any proposals for that in the park. But we may be introducing a kiosk, some kind of digital kiosk, so that might have an area where you can charge as well. But it's very much a passive kind of landscape park. We don't.
I mean, it's hard for a park to do everything, but I'm sure like since they're tearing up, moving the paths and doing a lot of restoration, it might be possible to add, electrical outlets for in the future if people want to actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna, Marcy, we should talk to
Yes.
what's his name, Anthony, about that.
Yeah, we're speaking with the Office of Information Technology about this because they received a grant to include kiosks throughout public spaces within the city. So we actually met with them today to talk about it. And to your point, people are using the current box that is there, which is problematic for us at times, right? Because, sometimes they're damaging it. Sometimes we have to tell people, hey, we need to use this for programs. And also then people are just hanging out that sometimes shouldn't be. So the kiosk was one thing that was, we did talk about it loosely, but we didn't really have a formal plan. But with this grant that the city is receiving, we did talk about that triangular area that Jan just pointed out.
You know what? I
Something
just
that
thought
would
of
be just
something.
adjacent to the park, similar to what they have at Military Park, where if you know that link kiosk, it's the same kind of kiosk. That kiosk is located on the sidewalk just adjacent to the park. So according to the grant, it doesn't have to necessarily be inside of the park. It can also be park adjacent. So we're working to find a space that we can have something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought of this though. Maybe we do it kind of at the back of the comfort station because it's like a bench here.
Yep.
Um,
I was gonna suggest that.
right in here somewhere, that because we have power coming to the comfort station anyway.
Yeah, great idea.
You know what? That's a thought.
There are so many people in Newark. Something as simple as charging your phone is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah, Mr. Pena, does that conclude your presentation, or do we have any more questions from our commissioners?
It does conclude our presentation. I think we have presented all of the main features and the overall plan.
Any more questions from our commissioners? Ms. Taylor, can you see if there are any members of the public who would like to ask questions?
No, I don't see any raised hands. And can you stop sharing the screen, please? There are no raised hands, so we can do a motion.
Thank you. Any commissioner would like to make a motion on this project?
I would make a motion to approve H24-204 without conditions.
Please remember to state your
Thank
name
you,
when you
Commissioner
make a
Zhang.
motion, so it could be on record too.
Commissioner Zhang.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Rose plus.
Thank you. Can you call the roll?
Motion made by Commissioner Zhang, seconded by Commissioner Grosclaws. Commissioner Forsythe,
Yep.
Commissioner O'Toole. You are
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Grosclaws,
Yes.
Commissioner Zhang,
Yes.
Acting Chair Combs Hollis.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all
Congratulations.
so much.
Very nice, very
Really
nice.
excited about this project. Hopefully we'll see you all at the ribbon cutting.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good evening.
Thanks very much.
You're
Okay, let
welcome.
me get Anthony back in.
We'll bring back our chair.
Yes. Okay. Mhm. Okay, Ms. Epps is there. Okay.
I don't believe we have any other agenda items, but I think we should wait for chairperson to come back.
You know, one of the things I was just wondering about, what type of grass is being put there? Is on their drawings, the type of grass? Hmm.
Anthony's back.
What's going on with my camera? I don't know what's going on with my camera.
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Hello, Ms. Vice Chairman. How are you? Chairperson. So we're finished with the last case.
Yes.
Okay. It's Kevin. Is everyone so could I make a motion to close this meeting? End this meeting? Can I get a motion?
I second Commissioner Epps. Oh, I move, Commissioner
You-
Epps, yeah. Move. Mhm.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second, close clause.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
Madam Secretary, we got a first and a second.
Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Commissioner Epps,
Yes.
Commissioner Glass.
Yes.
Okay. And motion to adjourn.
Thank you.